Hi, how you doing, and welcome back to another video on the channel. What we have for you today is our Game Week 9 preview. We're going to take a quick review of how Game Week 8 went for me and my team, and then we're going to look at captaincy options, transfer selections, and the team moving forward. So if you are new to the channel, please do subscribe, like the videos. It is really appreciated, and we're a small channel trying to grow, so any help with that, honestly, it does make a massive difference, and thank you for all the support we've had so far this season. So let's take a look at how Game Week 8 went. So Game Week 8, it has to go down as a success because I think whenever you get a green arrow at quite a high rank, you can't complain about it. So where did the points come from for me? So Mykolenko managed to get a clean sheet. Evan actually got a clean sheet and Mykolenko played, which is the first time that's happened this season. Normally when he plays, they're conceding 3 in the last 15 minutes. But he also got a bonus point as well, which is fantastic for a 4.3 million defender. Gvardiol got a goal, which is great. I am concerned that Man City aren't keeping clean sheets. When Gabriel was scoring goals earlier in the season for Arsenal, he was also keeping clean sheets and getting like 15 points, and that's when everyone was talking about, getting on Gabriel. Gvardiol, whilst he's getting those attacking returns, he's got 2 goals in his last 3 game weeks. Those clean sheets just aren't there, so it's starting to think like, should I transfer him out to maybe someone like a Rico Lewis, because you could save 1.2, 1.3 million there, and Lewis could still get attacking returns, and if Man City do get clean sheets, then he would get them as well. So that's something that I am considering, but we'll talk more transfer thoughts in a little bit. I did make the Saka to Foden transfer, which is paid off. Foden got 4 points, a very late assist, but it still counts. And that whilst you might think, well, a transfer is kind of worth 4 points in itself, free transfers are still free, and I'm really happy with Foden's fixtures moving forward, compared to someone like Saka's. Did keep hold of Havertz. He played, which is great, kind of makes it a good decision. I did think Havertz had more of a chance of returning quicker than Saka, but didn't get any attacking returns. But we all know how Arsenal's game went. And the Brentford boys, they didn't get an attacking return either. Kevin Schade, whilst he's 5.3 million, he's starting up front for Brentford like every week, and he's just not getting those attacking returns. He's had like 3 chances cleared off the line, and that's just how it goes sometimes, especially with a player at that price. Watkins got an attacking return and some bonus, and Haaland blanked. But when Haaland blanks, it feels like everyone blanks. Haaland's almost not irrelevant this season in terms of your league position, but you are going to have minimal impact because he's so highly owned. Like a lot of people will captain him. I think such a high number of people captained him this last weekend. Loads of people are going to captain him this weekend at home to Southampton. Any Haaland owners are going to captain him, right? So doesn't really make that difference too much to my rank, whether he blanks or not. I think if you're a Salah owner rather than a Haaland owner, I think rather you than me, to be honest, because, whilst this last game week Salah outscored Haaland, I just think Haaland's potential for massive returns is just so big, and when it does go wrong for those Salah owners, it's going to go really wrong, and you'll see a huge drop in rank because Haaland's so highly owned. So, that's the team for this game week, or last game week. I was really pleased with it in overall, and we did until Crystal Palace played Nottingham Forest last night. We were about 170k overall, so we dropped down about 50k, and that's really for those Chris Wood owners around my ranking position, to be honest, because Eze got 2 points, Chris Wood got 7 points, and it just goes to show how close the rankings are altogether, that 5 points does make that difference around the sort of rank that I'm at. But overall, really happy with it. We're closing in on that game week 10 milestone where we'll reassess and talk about realistic goals for the season. But until then, I'm really happy with how the season's gone. So the fixtures for this game week are pretty straightforward, really. I think the main thing to take away from them is that it's a Friday deadline, and it's Tuesday now. So Friday's not a million miles away, so please don't get caught out by missing the deadline. Try and have your team all set up, transfers made for Thursday, because you never know what could happen on Friday. You could get distracted by something, and then all of a sudden the deadline's gone, and you're a bit regretful, you're not looking forward to the Fantasy League weekend as much as you could have done. So that would be, job number 1 ticked off. The second job would be make sure you're captaining Haaland, because at home to Southampton, like we said, I don't think there's a single person who owns Haaland who wouldn't be captaining him this game week, or maybe for the whole season as well, really. But is he triple captaincy options this game week? I think yes, he would be. But if you've already saved your triple captaincy, you've not used it on him already earlier in the season, you're probably waiting for a double game week. So I'd also not be sort of feeling pressured into using your triple captaincy this game week, stick to your plan. These fixtures were always going to come up where Man City would play a team like Southampton, and if you want to use it in a double, wait for a double and use it then. I know there are some people who probably don't own Haaland as well, so if I didn't own Haaland, who would I be captaining this game week? Well, I think if I didn't own Haaland, I'd probably 100% be owning Salah. So I think you get someone in at Salah's price for the captaincies. So I think I probably would be captaining Salah, especially with Arsenal missing Saliba. You don't quite know how that defence is going to go, and it's been a little bit shakier recently than what they normally are. So maybe it is the right time to be attacking the Arsenal defence, but it's still away from home and you're not 100% sure on how that's going to go. So if I didn't own Salah, or I didn't want to captain Salah, my next options would be Watkins at home to Bournemouth, and I know Bournemouth are in reasonable form, but so is Watkins, so maybe that could be countering out that. Or you could look at Palmer at home to Newcastle. I think Newcastle are not in the best of form. Or Son away at Crystal Palace. So I think if you own any of those players and they're your highest priced player or your most attacking option, I wouldn't have a problem captaining any of them. I think if you own more than one, then it comes down to personal decision, and I'm not going to pretend that I know anything special compared to anyone else. So that then comes down to you and what you want to go with and how you want to play the game week. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the captaincy. So the team as it lines up for this game week is looking pretty good. We've got Arsenal playing Liverpool, which isn't ideal. Raya, we talked in another video, our wildcard video earlier this game week, about how goalkeepers just aren't getting clean sheets. So sometimes they're going to get them, sometimes they won't. Raya could still keep a clean sheet against Liverpool, even though we all think, Arsenal's defence is a little bit wobbly at the moment. So Havertz, playing Liverpool, he is on the chopping block again for transfers, and we're going to talk about that more in a second. But other than that, there's not really any areas of concern. Or at least areas of concern that I can do something about immediately. I am thinking of wildcarding in either game week 12 or game week 14, because that's when players like Brentford's fixtures try and they swing a bit. Eze's fixtures get a little bit worse, not that he's been able to do much recently anyway. And, game week 14 is when your Mikalenko's, Leif Davis's, those sort of teams, their fixtures sort of turn a bit as well. So that is when I could make wholesale changes. I'm not a massive fan of making transfers on cheap defenders or cheap midfielders with free transfers, because those transfers should be used for high upside players, your premium. So I could take out Kevin Schade, not this week because he's playing Ipswich, but the week afterwards. But there's not really much options around that price point unless I was to go to a 4.5 million midfielder and use that money elsewhere. So whereas when I'm wildcarding, I can really use that money to reinvest, or I can upgrade Kevin Schade, and I'm not taking a points hit because I'm not a huge fan of taking points hits. So that's the team lined up for this game week. Let's take a look at the transfer options. So as it stands, we do have 2 free transfers and 1.5 million in the bank, so I do have a little bit to play with. But the first transfer I'm looking at is actually saving more money. Havertz down to Matthias Cunha. Now, Arsenal's fixtures, as you can see on the board, are not ideal. Liverpool, Newcastle, Chelsea and Nottingham Forest, they've got injuries, they've got suspensions, and I can just see, Havertz could obviously score in those games, but I can also see him getting 2 points. You would have thought he would have scored against Bournemouth away, but that's just not happened, and, I can see that sort of Arsenal hitting a bit of a road bump here coming up. Matthias Cunha, we've talked in previous videos, Wolves' fixtures look really good, and they've had horrendous fixtures so far this season. They're not the bottom of the table team. They've played literally every team in the top 6 in the first 8 game weeks, I think. So that means that there's good fixtures coming, and I think making a transfer like this can really benefit the team moving forward. It really only matters the saving money in terms of what can you do with it. So with this transfer, there's not really an immediate transfer that I could do that I would like, that would allow me to get in a premium player. I could potentially sell Mbuemo, but I'm not going to do that with Ipswich at home. So another transfer I could make this game week is Havertz to Strand Larsen. So another Wolves attacker. They've both got 3 goals so far this season in 8 games against difficult opposition. But he is $1 million cheaper than Matthias Cunha. Now again, saving $1 million, that only really makes a difference with what you're going to do with it. So it would actually allow me to upgrade Eze to Cole Palmer this game week. So Matthias Cunha and Eze, I would much rather prefer a combination of Strand Larsen and Palmer. I think with Cunha, you get familiarity, right? He's been in the Premier League and done it a bit more regularly. But Strand Larsen seems to actually be playing the same, if not more minutes, than someone like Matthias Cunha. So he remains a good option. And the fact that I can do something with this funds in getting Palmer from Eze really does have a high upside. Now, I've got 0.1 million in the bank still spare, so I'm going to wait a couple of days, because if there is a price rise for Palmer or if there is a price drop for Eze, you know, I can still afford that transfer because I've got that little bit of cushioning with the money. Palmer's fixtures aren't great, but Newcastle and Man United, they're not awful fixtures, so you would think Palmer does have a realistic chance of returning against, you know, either of those teams. And then he plays Arsenal, and then his fixtures get really good. Now, if we are wildcarding around game week 12 or game week 14, you know, you're only really, I could get Palmer in at that point anyway, so I'm only really isolating this mini season, but I still think that upside is worth it. I just think, you know, Crystal Palace, they're not that team at the moment, and that's why I didn't get Eze in at the start of the season. Then I saw how unlucky he was being in his first few fixtures and thought, there's some points coming, so got him in. It just didn't happen. So that's my transfer thoughts for this game week. But let me know what you think. Let me know if you've got any transfer questions as well, because I will get back to you in the comments for what my opinion is worth. You know, if you value it, I will definitely help you out. And likewise for my team, if you see anything that I've missed, drop it in the comments. I'll always take it into consideration. It's good to, you know, get different opinions and different viewpoints, because sometimes you can become a little bit tunnel visioned with your transfers and you block out other potential options. So yeah, thank you very much for listening. Hopefully you had a good game week. Good luck in this next game week coming up, and I will see you in the next one.